Okay, I think I'm live. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Let's see. Okay, I can at least hear myself. Okay. So, if you can hear me, if you can hear me, if you can, I don't know, see me, then write plus in the chat. Plus in the chat, and I want to see where you guys. Let's see. Okay, LinkedIn, please don't be stupid this time and actually launch the live. Okay. Someone writes plus. It means I am indeed live. I'm indeed live and I can see myself on LinkedIn. This is crazy because usually LinkedIn, you know what it does with the live stream? It just doesn't do it. It was like this with the last live stream. I started it and it was only on YouTube. And it was crazy. That's very typical for LinkedIn. And of course, the first question, will it be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded, but the best way is to actually view it on YouTube. I know that you might get distracted on YouTube, right? If you look at on YouTube and then you have suggestions on the right side. But I think YouTube is just a way better, um, just in general, way better way to actually see anything and watch anything, especially the live streaming. Like LinkedIn is actually absolutely not made for live streaming. Someone says no sound here. Everyone has a sound. Kiran says able to see and hear me. Okay, rocking. Kiran, welcome. Welcome. Pressy, welcome too. Okay. Gopinath, I hope I'm reading it correctly. Welcome, welcome too. Okay. Guys, right here, from which city are you, or which country are you? If you're from a big country, then write the city. But if you're from a country like, I don't know, like Germany, I don't know. Is there anyone from Germany? Like, it's very rare that anyone anyone from Germany joins my live streams. Write the country in the chat, right? Write the city. If you're from a big country, then write the city in the chat. And if you're from just a smaller country, then write the country. So I'm gonna write Germany, Germany here. So write your write your city, write your country, so I get a bit of feeling where you're coming from. Okay, London. Nice, nice. I love London. Oh my god, London. I almost like whenever I go to London, I feel I'm gonna get robbed, and I never got got robbed, so I'm kind of happy. I love London. London is freaking awesome. I'm rewatching right now the Sherlock Holmes, the series, and it's really good and makes me missing London. Definitely coming back, maybe for the next London calling. Let's see. Maybe I'm gonna be a speaker. Let's see. Let's see. Turkey, nice, awesome. Portugal is here. India, Bulgaria, Finland, Bangalore, nice. Houston, Texas, nice. Chicago, US. Russell, Dallas, nice. Hyderabad, welcome. Egypt, welcome. India, welcome, welcome. Rio, from Rio. Oh my god, so we have a lot of people from so many countries. Welcome. I I know why there are not so many. Okay, Australia, we have Australia. What time is it in Australia? It must be quite. Wait, is it quite late? No, it must be quite early in Australia. Dallas, Texas. Okay, so I see people. You're gonna spend productive here, productive lunch here from US. Okay, Minneapolis, US. Nice. Welcome, welcome. India as well, Dallas. Awesome. The reason why there are not so many people from Europe is because it's 6 o'clock Friday evening. And I guess people have just better stuff to do than just watching integrations and how to do a connection to Stripe. So I can imagine that probably probably people in Europe are like, Friday night at the end of this week, do I really want to watch some coding? Nah, not the best. I better go get some wine, sit down, maybe have some Italian pasta. instead of watching some coding. Of course, I can understand them. I can understand them very well. Okay, USA, Nehases, and Chandrasekhar. I hope I'm reading correctly your name from Minneapolis. This is nice. India, nice. Who else? Do we have anyone from Europe? Like actually, this was not a single. No, we had Finland, right? We had Finland and Portugal. We had Finland and Portugal and Bulgaria. Okay, so this is Europe. Okay, that's kind. Turkey. Do we count Turkey as Europe? I don't know. Turkey is like so independent. I think from from all the Europe, even though even though Turkey is like kind of a Europe. I mean, like Turkey is in NATO, right? But like when I think about Europe, I kind of don't think about Turkey. I think more about like Germany, Spain, Italy, and those countries. Okay. UK is still European. Debatable. This is debatable. Debatable. It is kind of, like it's one of the most non-European European country. So it is kind of European, but it's so it's like a local America, like a local US here, basically. So different, like in my opinion. I don't know. Whenever I go to UK, I feel like I'm kind of in another world. Yes, yes, it's not European Union, Europe. I mean, for sure, for sure. Like I can understand. Yeah, Krakow, Poland. This is what. Okay, Frankfurt. Nice, 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 nice. So we have someone from Germany. Yes, Germany. Let's go. Okay, okay. Friday night, 6 p.m. Weekend as well in Egypt, but takes what takes to learn stuff. Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that. Uh, Integrations. This is crazy, guys. I mean, I'm happy to see everyone because you're Peru. Wow, we have Peru. Wow, this is cool. I mean, Turkey. Okay, someone says Turkey is not European Union. Yes, Turkey is not European Union. Okay, so we have two big questions. Is UK how much European do we consider it, and Turkey how much European? I think it's like on the same edge, like on the different sides, where you're like, okay, this is very questionable. Okay, okay, I should stop. I'm gonna get myself canceled. I should stop talking this nonsense. Gonna cancel me at some point. Okay. Okay, so we are here basically to do actually integrations, not to speak about what's European, what's not European, what's European Union and what's not. Okay, before we start with the whole this integration stuff and what we're gonna do today, I have a cohort that actually the cart is closing in exactly 12 hours. So if anyone wanted to join this cohort, which is gonna be freaking fire, there are already like 34 people joined the cohort. We still have a little bit of places, right? So if you want to join the cohort, then now is the time. So now is the time. You can go back to the live stream, but now is the time because it's gonna be canceled. Okay, it's gonna be closed in 12 hours, and that's it. And you cannot join the integrations anymore. Colombia, welcome. UK is okay. I agree. Laurentio, I agree. UK is okay. No, UK is fire. I freaking love UK. UK is freaking awesome. I love going to UK. It's like going to US, but you're just going with the train, so it's pretty cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do today? So we're not gonna be talking about European Union or UK and not UK and Turkey, even though we can, of course. We can, of course. This is very debatable stuff. But what we're gonna be doing today is we will make kind of a continuation of what we've done the last time. Actually, who here watched let's do it like this. Who watched the previous live stream on integrations? Write plus and minus if you haven't. So plus if you watched the last live stream and minus if you did not. Because this is interesting for me to see how actually do you guys do you have an idea what we've done before or not? And in the meanwhile, while you're writing this, I'm gonna go catch my my writing thing because I forgot it. Here we go. The magic. This is what I'm using. You have the full entertainment here in this live stream. I'm doing some magic tricks here. So plus if you have watched the previous live stream on integrations that I've done, I think it was like a week ago. And minus if you haven't. Ermin says minus, Kiran minus, some LinkedIn user minus, Georgie minus. Not what, really minus minus. No one have watched it. Oh my god, you guys. Okay, Simir plus Simir, you're awesome, Simir. That's the way. Everyone be like Simir. Crazy. Everyone says minus. Okay, so we have a completely new people here. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. Have you okay, I got this with a no one watched. Let's assume no one watched my last live stream. Okay, so what we've done in the live stream is that we did a very simple HTTP request and we got a very simple HTTP response. We parsed the response and we got the link. Okay, so basically the idea, let me open it to kind of recap so you have an idea. Where is it? It's this one or this one? Not live stream integrations. Okay. Looks horrible. Like no one can understand what the hell is going on here, right? So you see some crazy stuff here. Okay, so this is some crazy stuff. But basically what we've done is that we've done this type of thing. We understood what the hell are those HTTP requests, what are HTTP responses, what are those things, right? And we made a simple one and we parsed the response and we saved the payment link. So now what I want to do today, I want to do the very similar thing. A very similar thing. But I want to use a real API. So we have here Salesforce, right? We're gonna make a request to. Why is it not working? Hey. Wait a second. Wait a second. Okay. Can you guys then? So I have an idea how far are you in integration. So I have an idea. Can you write plus if you have done any integrations? If you have idea what are integrations all about, and minus if you have not. This is very important. This is very important for me to follow your basically your level. And in the meanwhile, I'm gonna configure this writing thing because it's some crazy Chinese thing that needs an app to run. Let me see if it works. Okay. So please, plus if you know integrations on some level, and minus if you don't. Is there a recording of the last session that we can refer to? Yes, there's recording on my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel. Okay, so we have plus, plus. Okay, good. So you have an idea about integrations. Minus, so it's about like 50-50, I would say. 50% of people know something about integrations, 50% don't. Okay, this is interesting. This is very interesting. Minus, I would say there are, yeah, they're probably 50-50 about. Interesting. Okay. So okay, so let me just to understand better, what people who wrote plus or people who wrote minus, what do you guys actually wanna from this session? Like what is it like? Why are you even on this live stream? What do you expect to learn? What do you expect to get from the stream? Can you please write in the chat? That would help me, because this is interesting. I prepared some stuff having one thing in mind for one audience, but turns out you guys are completely, you're quite different from what I expected. Okay. Will the session also be available in your YouTube channel soon? Yes. In fact, you can go to YouTube now and you can watch it on YouTube. I would everyone who is watching right now the live stream, I would really appreciate if you watch it on YouTube. Okay, so that would be really, really cool, because YouTube really cares about those things. YouTube is like really cares about the length of the, like, how much people watch it. So it would be very helpful for me personally, for my YouTube channel, if you watch it on YouTube, not on LinkedIn. Okay, so can you guys write what do you even expect from this, right? This would be very interesting for me to hear. That would be very interesting to hear. But while you're writing this, while you're thinking about this, what I want to do here to learn new real-time integration with you after watching your session. Okay, this is good. This is good. So what I wanted to do today is that I wanted to focus on basically working with real API. This is what's important, right? So the last time we basically covered how to make simple requests and replies. But I think what's important, if you're a beginner or if you know how to do certain requests, I think what's important is to get the skill of taking an API and go and develop stuff with this. Okay. So what I want to focus this time on is how to make simple request from here and how to get handling data loads. Ermin, interesting. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so this is actually what I want to focus on: how to make this simple request. This is I think this is a very important thing with a real API, because the last time we've done it not with a real API. Real-time examples helps to map concept. Absolutely, yes. Switch to YouTube. Yes, thank you. Thank you everyone who switched to YouTube. I really appreciate it. YouTube really likes when you guys watched. But don't get distracted. I know YouTube, you open YouTube and then 10 minutes after you find yourself watching some kind of strange stuff. I understand concepts and requirements. However, I have never actually implemented, developed an integration. This is interesting question. Okay. So this is interesting. So what I want to do today is that I wanted to kind of start building the payment system. It doesn't. I'm expecting authentication piece. Authentication. Really? Do you really want to suffer now on Friday night? I wonder that you will choose integration pattern and how to implement it. Okay, those are really good points. We can discuss all of that. I like it. I like it, guys. Keep posting your questions. Keep posting what you like. What do you expect? Because it's interesting for me. Like for example, authentication. I think it's an important topic. Authentication, to be honest. I'm gonna speak. So in this cohort that I'm running, I'm gonna be speaking about authentication quite a lot. There's going to be like a whole week about authentication, right? And also about patterns. But today we can just discuss the basics of it. Yeah. In case your guys wondering, here's the cohort. Can we discuss APIs? Okay. APIs is everything we're going to be discussing today all the time. Okay, so APIs, yeah, this is going to be our main thing. Okay, interesting. Okay, so let's have a look here. So we have here Stripe, right? We have here Stripe. I think you can use named credentials. Okay, so let's write here certain things. Okay, so we have authentication, right? We have APIs. We have, what do we have? Named credentials. Okay, named credentials. What else do we have? Patterns. We have patterns, right? So this is what you mentioned, guys. So if you have anything else, then mention it as well. So I can tell you that there are certain things here that are more important and less important for writing integrations. For example, named credentials, I see it more like a one-time thing, right? So it's more like one time. I don't think that you should be like staying in the night and learning named credentials. I think you should be learning named credentials in two different cases. Two cases. Okay. One case is that you want to get a certification, right? If it's required for the certification. I don't think that, so I know that PD, for example, PD1, Platform Developer 1 and Platform Developer 2, they don't really require you to to know those name credentials. Okay, I think that what are the certifications that require actually you to understand name credentials? I know, maybe like integration architect. Integration architect. I need to have a look. I haven't looked at the integration architect for a while, so I need to have a look if that's true. Or maybe the another one. What's the another certification? I forgot the name. Like authentication cert, basically. That definitely you need to know name credentials. But the point is that I don't think that you need to be studying those named credentials in advance. Okay. Someone is also writes flows. Flows. Okay. Okay. So named credentials you shouldn't really be studying like in advance. You should do them when you have the need. So you're developing with a certain API, and then you're like, wait a second, I need named credentials, and then you can use them. Now, the thing with the named credentials is that the new named credentials, in my opinion, they're horrible. Like, I really dislike them. I don't know why Salesforce made it so complicated. I can show you guys how to make the named credentials that we can use for Stripe today, right? So we can use some named credentials. I really dislike them. Like, I actively hate them. There are not that many Salesforce topics that I actively hate, but this is one of them. Okay, so we will cover a little bit of name credentials, but so that you know, it's not that you have to do it in advance. Okay, this is just something that you learn very quickly. Like there's literally 5 minutes that you need to do to learn it, and that's all. Okay, then flows. I don't think that you should be writing integrations with flows. Yes, you can do that, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay, so flows, I don't think that this is a good architecture to write integrations with flows. The reason for that is because integrations. So what is an integration, right? If you really think about this, what is an integration? This is basically you have one API or one server speaking to another API, right? That's in the nutshell. Very easily, this is an integration. Now, what is an API? It has some kind of definition. What the hell is API? No one cares. But API is essentially a piece of code. Okay, so this is just a program speaking to a program. That's an integration, right? Now, there's a very high chance that on the side of the server that you're going to be talking with, right? This server, in our case, there's going to be Stripe. Stripe can be PayPal, can be anything, right? There's a high chance that there is not something like a flow. There's a high chance that there's something related to coding, right? And of course, you will not be coding their server, but you're still going to be working with all the authentications, webhooks. Okay, webhooks. All the coding concepts that I think are way better to implement in Apex versus the flow. This is the reason number one. The second reason is because integrations, in a lot of cases, this is pretty of advanced topic. So if you're taking on an integration project and you have no idea about Apex, it better has to be a very simple integration. Like very simple. Like really simple. Okay? Because if you take on a project and you have no idea about integrations and you have no idea about Apex and you're just trying to do integrations with the flow, this is going to be painful. I would not want to maintain this type of org where the integration is written by people who have no idea about coding, about those patterns, and basically writing everything with flows. So I would recommend maybe for like the simplest possible cases is taking flows, but in most cases, like it's going to be not that easy, right? So I would, in 99% of the cases, maybe 90% of the cases, I would just 90% of the cases, I would just take Apex for integrations, okay? Even though you can do it with the flow, I know, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. This is very important. So this is so important that I think this is like it has to be written in Salesforce, like in the first documentation, the first page that you open. Can is not equal to should. Okay, important, very important. I'm gonna make a LinkedIn post about this. Okay, so I don't recommend using flows for integrations. That's why we're discussing it all the time in Apex, okay? So instead, we're going to be doing it in Apex, not with the flows, okay? So I'm not going to be touching on flows. And don't get me wrong, flows are awesome. Like flows are awesome for other use cases. I don't say that flows are bad. It's just that they're not good for this particular case. Okay, patterns. Patterns in integrations are actually relatively easy. There's not that much stuff going on there. You can really learn them like in about a week. So it's not much. So we're not going to be touching directly on that. I'm not going to be going through like a lot of a lot of patterns and telling you what's going on there. But I'm gonna show you why I choose to do it in a certain way. Okay, and authentications. We're not going to be touching a lot of authentication. We're going to touch it a little bit with named credentials today, but not much. That's the plan. That's the plan. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Any other questions? Any other concerns that you guys have in your mind? Okay. So I have here my plan, what we're gonna do. Okay, so we wanna make a Stripe integration. And the reason why I love Stripe is because Stripe has an incredibly easy. It's so easy. It is very easy. It is very easy to work with this API. Okay. So Stripe, what is Stripe in the nutshell? This is basically a payment system. Yeah, this payment system. So basically, this is a way for you to generate some kind of payment link, invoices, customers, and all this type of things. So basically, in a lot of cases, you have Salesforce, right? So you have Salesforce here, Salesforce, and Salesforce has you interact with some kind of customers, right? So you have customers. You have customers, right? Okay, so those are the customers. But the customers, they need to buy from you. They need to buy something, right? So they need to pay in certain way. So what end up is that you need to generate those payment links and payment processes, and you need to process the payments from customers somewhere else. Salesforce can process payments, right? You need to have a Stripe, you need to have a PayPal, you need to have something else like Lemon Squeezy, for example, ThriveCard, anything. So like you need to have the payment processing. And basically anyone in the internet is doing it with Stripe. You can also do it with a PayPal. The principle is the same, right? It's very similar. So the way it's going to look like is that you have customers here, but then you have Stripe. You have Stripe here. And you will request the payment link from the Stripe and you will send it to the customer, right? So this is usually the process. Or maybe you will take a customer and you will push it here to Stripe so that you can do some other actions with Stripe. So this is a very frequent use case that you have. Now let's speak first about real world. Hey, what's going on? Why is it off? One second, my lamp died. That's not cool. I like this lamp. 1 second. Well, I have no idea. Then we're gonna be without a lamp. That's fine. That's all good. Okay. Where was I? Got distracted. I couldn't find now my notes. Oh, all right. So, in the real world, this is supposed to be a real world. Okay. So, in the real world, you have a thing. Yeah, rest in peace lamp. Like, what the hell? Like, this is I bought this lamp. This is extra lamp that I bought for, like lightning. So it has a certain frequency that does not interfere with the video. It's very sad if it dies. Okay, so in real life, you have a thing called Stripe connector. Stripe connector. And I really recommend you guys using it, right? If you're building like a big integration with Stripe, then you should be using Stripe connector. Now, not in all cases you should be using the Stripe connector because it has own complications. It takes a lot of time to set up and all of this. But in the case if you're like really building integration that, for example, some integration projects that I had, they might take months and months to implement. Okay, so if you're building something like that that's going to take for you months to code, then probably you should be using Stripe connector. If you're building something simple, right? If you're building something simple, then I would recommend that you probably just go and write code on your own. Okay, so like you just basically self-implement. You just code it directly, and I'm gonna show you basically how to do exactly that, right? So again, the point is just to make a real life call out, and then let's see if you guys like these videos. Maybe if you watch it enough, then I'm gonna make another video to another live stream to basically make a little bit more with this and like actually build the full payment system. It is like Flora says, it might be just the bulb. Yes, it's exactly the bulb. And it is like a middleware. Yeah, so Stripe connector is like a middleware for basically for Salesforce. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing that you need to do when you just starting with any integration project, as I usually recommend, is that you need to plan. Because a lot of people, they basically just go and they start writing code immediately. But always in real life, whenever you're coding anything, first plan, right? You got a ticket, and I see it so many times. Juniors, they get a ticket on the job, right? So you start working as a junior developer, you get a ticket, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. This is Stripe integration. Okay, let me go and write some code, some Apex. No. The first thing that you need to do is to think. You need to plan. You need to solve the problem in your head approximately, the steps approximately, right? It doesn't have to be a perfect solution, but first you need to plan. Okay? Sometimes if you don't know what to do on the step number 1, you need to do a step number 0 and what? Wait. How do you spell it in English? Oh my god, my English skills. Idea. How do you spell idea? That's the problem. That's the problem of being not native speaker and trying to do something, YouTube or a business, using English. Sometimes it drives me crazy. Like I wish I was born to an English speaking country sometimes, so I wouldn't have those problems. So basically, okay. So sorry for misspelling, whatever that is. ID8, whatever. So basically, what you need to do as the step number 1, you need to come up with ideas, with many different ideas how you can solve the problem. Sometimes when you don't know the exact solution, then you can idea. So thank you guys. So sometimes you need to just kind of like sit down and brainstorming, right? So this is you're saying it correctly, right? So in this idea project step, you basically just write down all the ideas that come into your head, and then you sort through them, and then you can kind of see the plan. Okay, how do I solve it? Okay, so the first step is to plan. The second step, usually for me, it's building like a draft solution. Draft solution, or I think a better name for this is proof of concept. Proof of concept. Okay, so basically you have your plan, you take your plan, and you develop the simplest possible confirmation that your plan is going to work. Okay, so this is the step number two, and then the step number 3 is actually to develop. Now, something that people really miss a lot: prototype. Yes, prototype is a good saying for this, right? So you're prototyping basically. This is something that people use in pre-sales, right? So they develop some kind of proof of concept and they use it in pre-sales. So if we have any pre-sales consultant, you definitely know what it means, right? So this is in pre-sales usually. And then develop. Now, a big misconception that people have: do some research, it goes into the ideate process. Okay, so usually this is ideate is research. Okay, so some big misconception that I personally had as a developer when I started is that when you're here, when you're drafting your solution, when you're doing the proof of concept, sometimes you can get as far as being like 70% done. Okay, or sometimes if you can get as far as 90% done with the implementation. And this is where the fun begins, because in coding, the last 10% of solution usually take 90% of your time. It is not exactly the right numbers. Some people like to call it the 80-20 rules, right? So 80% of your results going to come from 20% of your efforts. This is what people like if you see it on the internet. But in coding, we have a different thing. In coding, we have that the last 20% is going to take 80% of your effort. Okay? So this is something important to always keep in mind whenever you work in real life, is that sometimes the actual coding begins when you have almost everything working, but you don't have those edge cases, you don't have tests, you don't have documentation. So when you don't have those things, this is where the actual coding begins. Not when you develop the prototype and everything is already working and like you're, wow, I'm already making the request, I'm already doing like almost everything that I need. I just need to fix those few things. And that's where the actual coding begins, because fixing those small things, this is what's going to take you significantly more time than developing the initial stage. Okay. So that's very important. This is something that I didn't know as a beginner. I thought something wrong with me, and I'm like, what the hell? Why I'm spending so much time on something that is just a little bit, just almost there? But no, that's how it goes. Okay. So our plan. What's our plan, right? How do you even create this plan? Well, first, let's go to the Stripe API. Stripe API, right? Okay, so you need to go to the Stripe API. So what are we gonna do? Let's make as a simple example. Let's just send and create a customer in Stripe. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Create a customer. Let me go and write it down. Create a customer. So we have here Salesforce. We have here Stripe. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna send a new customer. Again, let's see how much engagement you guys have. So the more comments you write, the more motivated I am to continue. So Depends how much stuff do you wanna see. Let's see if we wanna integrate it actually in a trigger or not. Um, let's see about that. Let's just start with just testing stuff, right? So we're gonna just start with a prototype, basically, right after the plan. So okay, so when we look at this, we kind of know the Salesforce part. Now we need to research, as Flora says, we need to research the Stripe part. Okay. By the way, Flora, you can, I think you can join if you're up for it. You can join the integration cohort. I think integration cohort is actually a really good thing for you. I think it would be a really cool thing for you. Okay. Um, so we need to research this Stripe, as Flora says, right? Let's have a look. Okay. So the first thing where you start researching anything is always the documentation. It's always the documentation. Now, what a lot of people do is that they start doing things that are very unproductive. And you have to be really mindful about this. So, what is really unproductive? Videos. Okay. This is probably the most unproductive thing you can do on this stage. When you get a new API and you start working with this, if you start watching videos instead of reading, you're wasting your time. Okay. Please, no videos. Then another one, articles. Depends how good is documentation, but in most cases you want to read articles after you read the documentation. So don't start with articles. Okay. Also, don't go to like stuff like Stack Overflow. Again, we're speaking about the beginning of the project, right? You just got an API. How do you approach to develop in integration with this API? Stack Overflow, no. Another unproductive thing is ChatGPT. And also Claude, of course. I remember I had a few weeks ago, I had a student and I asked a student, hey, are you using ChatGPT actually? Like, because it looks like you're using ChatGPT. And the student was like, no, I'm not using. No, not at all. But I'm using Claude. And I'm like, that's the same thing. That's the same freaking thing. So please, no ChatGPT and no Claude. Okay, or whatever the other. Okay, and then you go and use DeepSeek. No, none of that. Don't use any of that. This is unproductive. All of this is unproductive. The only thing and the first step that you need to do while you're researching is always only one, and this is documentation. And I'm emphasizing on this so much because when I see like when I used to give like a task to a junior developer, I would see them doing anything, literally everything, except looking up in documentation. And this is bad. This is bad habit. Just literally wasted so much time. So the first thing always is documentation. Always have a look at documentation. Take a tea or a cup of coffee, sit down and read documentation. I know it's harder than watching YouTube video, but read the documentation always first. Almost all systems that you're gonna integrate with gonna have some kind of getting started documentation. And this is where you should start with, okay? So here we have introduction. And at first, I'm not going to be doing it right here because this is not a video format. But if you were working on this integration, what you need to do is that you need to just read a bunch of stuff, even maybe stuff that is not relevant for you right now. Just read through documentation. If I were to start right now with the API, with the Stripe API, I would read all of this. Okay, I would read introduction, obviously. Okay, I would read all the introduction and then I would read all of that. I would read authentication, I would read connected accounts, errors, and all of this. You might think that this is a waste of time, but it's not. Okay, it's just not. It's just you're reading, you're understanding how the API works. Okay, now with the time, it just helps you to understand how all the APIs work. They all work in approximately the same thing, but you need to do it. I just see so many people just skipping it. Sai says, do you mean API documentation? Yes, I mean API documentation. Yes. Okay, so obviously we're not going to be sitting here for an hour and reading all of this, but it's very useful. Okay, so now the next thing, when we read the documentation, we start reading our specific stuff that is related to what we want. In our case, we want to have customers. That's what we want to have. Okay, so we want to create a new customer in Stripe. Now, we can see here a lot of customers. And again, what a lot of people do is that they're like, oh, customers, awesome. Let me go and immediately write code. No, again, we are just reading. Again, this is so important because so much of development work is just basically understanding those things and reading them. That's why I'm spending so much on it. It's so important. And no one does that. No one does that. Like literally no one. Like it's just gonna make you such a better developer if you just do it. Okay. So what do we see here with the customers? Let me make a screenshot of this. And I'm gonna add it here so we can have a look at this. All right. Every API has such a structured documents. Not every API has a good documentation. So this is this is where you need to kind of have a good understanding, okay, what kind of API are you dealing with, right? Some APIs, you will just be amazed how bad they are. Like for example, Google API. Google API is horrible. Google API, yeah, it's just very bad. Stripe API, on the other hand, is very good. So yeah, it just depends on the API, but nevertheless, even if the API is bad, you will learn so much more by just reading it instead of watching some kind of YouTube videos. So what do we see here? We see the endpoints that we have. And this already tells us a lot. Okay? So it tells us many things. First of all, what you can notice, and this is if you since you guys didn't watch the previous one, then in the previous one, what I told you is that if you're just beginning with integrations, it makes sense to focus on two types of requests, on post and get, right? Post and get. And I told you that those two requests, request types, they're gonna already cover like 80% of all integrations that you're gonna do, if not 90, probably like 90% of all integrations. Okay. So you can see here with the endpoints that we have two post requests, we have 3 get, and we have 1 delete. You see we don't have patch and put and all of those requests, because in most cases you will have those post and get. WhatsApp API, I don't know, I never worked with a WhatsApp API. Is it good? Is it bad? I have no idea, to be honest. I have no idea. Okay. So okay, so we have those two APIs. Now, what we want to do is that we want to create a customer in Stripe from Salesforce. Now, question to you guys: which of those requests? Let's number them. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which of those would you use to create a customer? Write in the chat the number of the request. Which one would you use? One. I see. Laurenti says 1. Kieran says post. Okay, but which post? We have 2 posts. Niha says 1 or 2. Good. Any other ideas? Post, yeah. 1. Okay, 1 and 2, good ideas. Good ideas. 1, yeah. So, okay. I would also go for 1. I would go for 1. Now, why is it 1 and why is it not 2? So first of all, how do we compulsory 1? Okay, good. So why is it not 3 and 4? No one said 3 and 4, right? Very simple. It is get requests, right? So the get requests, they're always used to actually read some information from the server, right? So we cannot pass an ID when the record is not created for retrieving. Good point. Very good point. So with the get, we can already delete this because we know that we're not going to be reading the customers, but we're going to be publishing the customers. Then the delete, we don't want to delete anyone. And with the get, we don't want to search anyone as well, right? So we are left with those 2 post requests. Now the question is it 1 or 2? You can see that we have here an ID. So sometimes post requests, they're used not to create a new data, but to update the existing data in a server, which technically should be used by I think patch or put, right? So technically, but in a lot of cases, you will find post actually doing the update. I suspect that this is the case in this one. So let's read and let's see. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna click on this one. And the first thing that we see is that it says updates the specific customer by setting the values of the parameter passed. Okay. So we can see that this post with the ID, it is actually not used to create a customer, but it is used to update the customer. Which means that we can rule out this post as well. So we are left with only one possible endpoint. And you see, we haven't done any coding right now, but we are thinking about those things. That helps us to create a plan, because now we know what kind of request are we going to make. Okay, so when we make this request, in most cases, what you need to think is a couple of things. Okay, so the first thing, what you need to do is you need to think, okay, what are the requirements? What are the requirements for this request? Because yes, it looks like it's just a post request, but it is not. In a lot of cases, there are some additional requirements that are coming for this. Okay, so sometimes you'll see just a post request. Yeah, oh nice, a post. Does it mean that you can just post anything you want into this request? No. You always have to follow the certain format of this particular API. Okay, you always need to include certain things. Sometimes they're going to be required fields, sometimes they're going to be no required fields. Sometimes you have to do it as a URL encoded, sometimes you have to do it as a JSON, right? What you want to post in the server. So you need to know this information. And you usually need to know it before you start coding. That's why we're doing the planning part right now. You will see once we're done with the planning, the coding itself will be actually a piece of cake. It's going to be very easy. So let's go back and let's have a look. Okay. Where requests, customers. Here we go, customers. Okay, so we click on it. What do we see here? In a lot of cases, what you will see in APIs is this, we call it curl. Like, I'm not sure how to pronounce correctly in English, but like I would call it curl, CURL, right? This CURL, this is one of the best ways of basically explain a request without writing a particular code. Because if you think about this, okay, you have a request, you make a request, right? Stripe doesn't really care from which programming language you're going to make the request. It can be Java, it can be Python, it can be Salesforce. Stripe doesn't care. Stripe just exists. It doesn't know about Salesforce. What's important for Stripe is that the request comes in the right configuration. And depending from which system you're going to make a request, your request is going to look differently, right? If I were to write this request in Python, it would look totally different. In fact, let's have a look. Python. This is how it looks like in Python, right? Um, they use here the connector. Okay, so doesn't really matter, but this is how it looks like in Python. Okay, how does it look like in Java? Differently. Okay, so we need to have, and usually those APIs, they have some standard way of basically describing how the request should look like. And this standard way is this curl. It shows you many parameters, right? So what it shows you is the curl, and then it shows you the endpoint. Shows you the endpoint, and then it shows you the parameters that you need. And usually, if you're not that familiar with Apex, you can just copy this thing, and you can ask ChatGPT, "Hey, ChatGPT, can you actually make this into Apex?" And ChatGPT will actually be quite good at this. Okay. Now, what we can also see here immediately that for Salesforce, which language we need to choose? Apex. That's an interesting question. What language? What I I think Apex. I think Apex. Uh, okay. Data URL encode, right? So you can already see here that we are encoding is in URL. It's going to be relevant a little bit later. Okay. Now the next thing that you can see here is the response. And the response is very interesting because response, it basically shows you what are the fields that usually be returned to you when you make this request. So there are just examples here, but it's still important for you to see the structure, because eventually, usually what you need to do is that you need to take this response that you're going to get, right? So Salesforce, Stripe, you do some request, you get some response, and now this response is going to be usually JSON or XML, right? Or some format that is not relevant for Salesforce. So you would need to take this format and you would need to parse it to something that Salesforce understands, right? So it's important for you to know the structure of the response that you're getting. Very important. And you can see it here. And of course, the first thing that you need to do is to read about those things. In a lot of them, they're going to be required fields, right? So for example, ID you will always get, but sometimes you're just going to have null or something that just will not be there. Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions so far from what we discussed? Okay, so this is basically how you approach this thing. Now, before you can actually make the request, what you need to do is you need to have a Stripe account. I already have the Stripe account. You need to set up a little bit, but it's not a big of a deal. So you need to have a Stripe account. And one of the big reasons why I chose Stripe is because I think it's very developer friendly and it's also very beginner friendly. So Stripe, you need to have Stripe account. I think Stripe is probably one of the best ways. If you're just starting out with integrations, I think it's one of the best things. So you have to do once, if you want to be a developer, you have to do at least once a Stripe integration. All right. So I already have the Stripe account. Let me take it. Da, 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 da. Let's see. In the meanwhile, while I'm searching for it, you can think about what kind of questions do you have. I cannot find my. I cannot find my. Wait, where's my Stripe proper? Okay, I'm just set up a new one so I don't. Okay. So in Stripe, the new thing that you have is those sandboxes. This is actually pretty cool. I mean, you're familiar with the sandboxes, right? Because we are all in Salesforce, so we are all familiar with the how to work with the sandboxes. Someone says some applications don't have documentation. How should we approach those? It's very rare that they don't have documentations. Like it really doesn't have documentation. That's very weird. But if it doesn't have documentation, well, you just need to ask the developers, right? You cannot do much about documentation. Um, if you don't know how the API looks like, you cannot do anything with the API. You need to have a documentation to some extent, or you need to have someone to email you how to speak to the server, right? So there has to be something. Okay, so yeah, let's actually, okay, I see, let's actually write some stuff. Okay, yeah. You're testing in sandbox. Okay, so yeah, looks good. Looks good. Looks good. All right. So this is the sandbox. How is using Apex integration different from using middleware like MuleSoft? So MuleSoft is. I used to inspect to find the. Okay, so MuleSoft is the middleware. MuleSoft is basically something like this, right? So you have Salesforce, you have Stripe. Usually if you want to have the direct connect, then usually you would have a direct connect, but in some cases there's certain things that you the certain things. Wait, wrap up and reflect. I don't want to wrap up. So sometimes you want to have some functionality with the integration that is not supported neither by Salesforce nor by Stripe. For example, I had a use case where I had to send like 5 million records to payment system. I don't remember what payment system it was. Probably not Stripe, something else. I think it was not a payment system. I think it was some kind of analytics or something around this, right? 5 million. The problem is that this analytic thing, it only supported one record at the time. So you could not send like a list of records. You can only send one record. What do you do in this case, right? Well, there are two options. You can create this job in Salesforce that's going to be running in Salesforce itself. It's going to be running all the time. And then it's going to make the call out to that system, right? And it's going to make one at a time. But the problem is that there are also limits in Salesforce, right? If you're really unlucky, then you're also going to hit those limits, even if you're using stuff like batch. Okay, there's a certain amount of API requests that you can make out of the system. So you have a limitation on one side, you have limitation on another side, and especially on the Salesforce side, right? So what do you do in this case? Well, you use MuleSoft or any kind of middleware. It doesn't really matter if it's MuleSoft or anything else. But what you can do is that you can take the records, you can send them from Salesforce to the middleware, and the middleware doesn't have those problems middleware can be running as much as it wants, right? And you send just all the 5 millions in one batch or in like 5 batches, but essentially you're sending it without hitting the Salesforce limits. And then the middleware is going to be handling those requests and working with that system, right? So this is one of the use case of middleware, right? It's not the only one use case for middleware, but this is the one that I personally had, right? So this is the idea behind those MuleSoft and those type of things, is to kind of take this integration and do it not in Salesforce, but do it somewhere else. Basically, do the heavy lifting somewhere outside. Do you need it for every single integration? Absolutely no. But it's useful for a lot of different integrations. That's why we have like MuleSoft developers, right? That specialize in MuleSoft. So, but I think if you really want to understand integrations, you need to develop at least like a couple of different, at least like 5 different projects that you need to develop on Salesforce itself, Salesforce pure. Okay, so Salesforce like a core, Salesforce in Apex. This is what you need to do to understand integrations properly. Once you have this understanding, you can go and do MuleSoft, do all the other things. But first you need to do it in Salesforce. This is my recommendation if you really want to understand them. Because essentially the integrations are integrations the same, right? It doesn't really matter if it goes from Salesforce to some server or from Salesforce to MuleSoft and from MuleSoft somewhere else. They all kind of follow the same approach and the same ideas. So you by learning it in Salesforce, you kind of learn it to do it anywhere, and then you can expand to anywhere you want. Good question though. Do we need to validate the APIs using Postman Workbench before implementation? I really suggest you do. I'm not gonna do it right now, but usually, depending how hard is your integration, sometimes I just go immediately for Apex. Sometimes I test it in Postman. The reason being is that sometimes in Postman you need to set up so much that you're like, I'm just faster for me to write Apex. So for me personally, sometimes it's just easier to write quick Apex rather than just going to Postman. So yeah, but you need to test it in some way, be it Postman Workbench or being just a quick Apex script, okay? But you do need to test it in some way. Yeah, sure. All right. So we have this. Why did I even get distracted with this thing? Okay, so we have this thing with the Damask C. So I guess yeah. So this is just it can save a lot of headache testing before in Stripe. Yeah, for sure. Just depends. It depends a lot on the integration. Like I wouldn't just say do it all the time. It's helpful thing for sure to test it in Postman. Yeah. So we have a Stripe here, right? So this is like a sandbox, right? And you can see we have here publish key and secret key. Okay. So it doesn't really matter because those are just the keys for the sandbox. So it's not like you can read anything useful with this one. But what we want to do is that we want to make the first call out, right? So right now we are in the basically prototyping. So our plan, let's finish the plan. Our plan is very simple. We know that we're gonna make this post request to the customer, right? We know by reading this thing how it's gonna look like, right? For example, here we know that we need to have it URL and code, that we need to include email and the name. So those are the things that are required. So we know those things. Okay, so we know how our post request is going to look like. We know how we're going to make it. We know about a documentation, so it's good. So we have a plan. Now we can move to actually writing the code. Okay, but you see, it's after planning. So okay, we're moving to the writing code. Of course, in real life, you would use the VS Code, but since we're just focusing on making the first request and basically prototype, I'm just going to be using the developer console for now. Okay. So to make it a little bit more real, I'm going to actually query a contact first. So I'm going to go contact to send equal to, and select ID, last name. Let's do it like this: first name, last name, and email from contact where email is not equal to null, like this, right? Again, this is probably not the best practice. You would probably want to do something like this. List of contacts, but in this case, I'm just going to say limit one, and that's good enough for us to make the request, right? So we're not focusing on perfect Apex code. We're focusing on the request. Okay, now any request, it is kind of, in my head, it is divided in three things. So it is divided into like actually HTTP request, right? And this HTTP request, we have authentication, right? And we have a body, and we have the other part. Okay, so this kind of a little bit, we have authentication, we have the body of request, and the other part is the response, right? So this is, for me, in my head, those are like three main parts of the request. So let's make the actual HTTP request. HTTP request, request. And if you have no idea what's going on here, then you should rewatch the first session that we've done. I have a mini course, and I have a lot of stuff about it. Okay, so let me send you guys, for those who want to know a little bit, like if you're looking at this and you're like, what the hell is that? Then you can go and you can learn the mini course. It's very easy. It takes like an hour. It's free, and it's very easy to do. But of course, if you're also enjoying the teaching, you can join the cohort. The cohort is gonna be fire. The cohort, there are already so many people, over 30 people joined, and today is the last day to join. So if you don't join today, we're already starting the next Monday. So today is the last day. Okay. So we're making the request, right? Now request, first let me have a look at my notes. Okay. So request, I have a typo here. Now with the request, we need obviously the endpoint, set endpoint. And here as an endpoint, what do we do? How do you know what's the endpoint? Well, you go to documentation, okay? And you can see here that we have the endpoint written here, okay? And we're putting it here. Now, one thing about Salesforce is that you cannot just make a call out to any other system just randomly like this. You have to go to the Salesforce setup, and you have to go to the remote site settings, and you need to click here new, and add here Stripe API, and put this thing here. You don't need to put the full path. You just need to put the main URL part, okay, the main domain. And then you click on save. I already have this one, so I'm not going to click on save. But you need to add it here, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so we're putting here this. Now, what else? So next, obviously the method, right? Request, set method. By the way, what I see a lot of people do, don't do that. I know that even Salesforce documentation freaking does that, but this is so annoying, is that you name this variable rec, like this. Yeah, and then set method, we have post. This is not good. Like, this is really not good. I think even ChatGPT does that. Like, the first rule of variables, of naming variables, is don't abbreviate. Never abbreviate your variables unless you absolutely have to. You're running out of characters, but not with this one. If it's a request, then call it request, not rec. It really makes it easier to read. So call it freaking request. Like, that drives me crazy that Salesforce documentation has those things. Like, Salesforce documentation actively doing so many mistakes, such a bad code quality in the Salesforce documentation, that this is so annoying at this point. Like, it's been driving me crazy since I joined Salesforce ecosystem. You cannot have the Salesforce, the company itself. You cannot have the freaking company itself writing that bad of a code. Like, literally, not a single Salesforce documentation that you open has a really good code. Like, not a single one. This is so frustrating. Like, this is so annoying. I tell you guys. Okay, but you know that. You know that we are as developers, we are sometimes very frustrated with Salesforce, and deserved so. Deserved. Freaking Salesforce. Okay. So yeah, so we have the method. Let's see. I'm just looking at my documentation. We have the method. Now we have an important part. We have an authorization. First, I'm gonna just do it the very simple and stupid way. I'm just gonna basically put my token that I have in Stripe immediately here. Don't do that. Never do that. Okay. You can you can go on GitHub and you can search for Stripe tokens and you'll find a lot of them, because this is bad. Okay, don't do that. But I'm gonna do it just to basically teach you right now, and then we can, if we have time, we can make it to named credentials. Okay, we can explain you how to put it into named credentials. Why do we even need to have a secret here, right? What the hell is this secret? So now imagine you're using real Stripe, right? So you're using Stripe, like real Stripe, to handle real payments, and someone goes and just reads, makes a call out here to read all data. Okay, they just make a call out, they read all the data, and they know everything about your financial, all your customers, everything, all the emails of your customers. Now that would be very stupid, right? You don't want to have it. So in Stripe, you have a secret that only you know. And you take this secret and you put it into all the systems that you trust. And then whenever you want to read something, you take the secret and you show it to Stripe, and Stripe says, okay, you have the secret, you can read the information. Okay, this is the simplest way of doing that. There are literally probably 10 different ways of making this whole authentication, but this is literally the simplest way of doing that. But this is very important. This is why you need to have the secret. Even more important is that you cannot store this secret in code, because in a lot of cases, your whole implementation is going to be on GitHub. Okay, especially if you're making some kind of open source or whatever. If you're just making like an open repository, you're going to publish it on GitHub, and then people can go and see your keys inside of the code, because the code is open. So you cannot have your keys inside of the GitHub. So you cannot have it inside of the code. Where can you have it then? The probably the most like straightforward way is custom metadata types. Not the most ideal, but I think if you want to just like have something quick, you don't really care that much about security, which we can see. We saw what it can lead to, but this is one of the ways. And the proper way is named credentials. Named credentials. Okay, so named credentials is the way. You have named credentials in two sorts. You have legacy, and you have new one. I really dislike the new one, and I am okay with the older one, with the legacy. Okay, so it was not perfect, but I really actively dislike the new one. I think it sucks. I think it's it's not very intuitive how to use it. It almost never works, and it's very hard to debug. Yeah, it's very hard to debug. So yeah, new, I don't like it, but what can we do? What can we do with the new one? So use the new one, of course, because this is going to be the way from now. But if you're frustrated with the name credentials, deserved so. Okay, so this is not only your frustration; it's just in general very frustrating thing to deal with. Yes. Okay, so we have this, right? We have the method. Okay, now authorization. Now, usually the authorization happens in the header. Usually, when you have this type of token, it is not a part of a body, but it is part of the headers. And separately, you have the body. Usually, doesn't mean always, because there are so many different APIs, and they all have completely different authentication processes. But in a good designed APIs, that's usually the case. Okay, so we put it in the headers. Let's do it. How do you create a header? You go request, set header. And header is two things. First of all, the key for the header, which in this case is authorization. And this here is the bearer, like this. Now, again, depends which kind of authorization you have. How do you know it? Well, you read it here. Authentication, authorization, you read it here, okay? So you read it here, and then you see how it works. Okay, we have the authorization. I'm just gonna copy this one. We're gonna just do it in a very stupid way. In this, gonna put there. Okay, so we have the header. Then the next header that we need to set is request dot set header. The next header is the content type. Content type, like this, capitalized content type. So there are usually two cases that you can have there. You can have application slash JSON or application slash, and I'm just going to copy it from my notes, X URL encoded. This is basically the most important here is that it's URL encoded. That's what it means. Okay. For Stripe, we need in this case to use the URL encoded. How do I know this? Again, I go to the customer, I go here to the request, and I can see that this is URL encoded. Okay. So yes, Stripe is using this URL encoded even for the post requests. Okay, not only for the get requests. Okay. So if it's URL encoded, it means that the way we set the body is that we do request set body, set body, and in this case, I'm just going to say email equal to, and I'm going to put the email here of the contact. So contact to send dot email, like this. Okay. And then maybe let me do it like this. I'm gonna make it string body to send equal to this name equal to plus contact to send last name plus contact to send last name, first name. Wait, first name here. Yeah, like this. And I'm gonna make here. No, it's fine. Let's just do it like this. Let's just do the email. Whatever. Let's just do the email. That's gonna be easier. Okay. Set body to send, right? And now we need to have the HTTP equal to the new HTTP. Okay. And now we need to HTTP response equal to, and we do HTTP dot send, and we put the request there. What do we send? The request. Okay. And now let's just print it out. System.debug response dot get body, like this. And maybe we can also get the status code, get status code, like this. Okay, let's try it out. Let's see. Send it, execute, HTTP. HTTP response. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And we can see that we got a JSON back, right? So we got the same JSON back as basically in the same format as is shown here, right? It's just not very aligned, but we got this back. And if we go here to the customers, we can see a customer. Okay. I think it's an old customer. So I can delete the customer and I can retry this whole thing. Execute. And the customer should be there. Let's see. Okay. So now we have the customer there again. I don't know why it shows 1722. It's kind of wrong time. But maybe it's using some other time. I have no idea. Strange. Is it free to play with the Stripe sandbox? Yes, it's free. Like I think Stripe in general is free to use, but you might need to provide some details, like your I don't know, like a business details. But I think Stripe API should be free. And again, guys, if you're enjoying this, then I'm gonna be teaching you all of that. I'm gonna be teaching for the next 8 weeks, right? So it's kind of a little bit outside of the without a structure, right? But with the cohort that starts, that's gonna be very structured. We're gonna start next Monday, and in 8 weeks, I'm gonna teach you every single thing about integrations. We're going to build 10 different projects in integrations, like real projects like this with the Stripe, but like full-blown projects. And if you wanted to learn integrations, then that's the last chance for you to join. Like 11 hours left, and there are already over 30 people there. So join, don't hesitate, because I don't know if I'm going to ever run again this integration cohort, to be honest. I have no idea. I don't know. Definitely not in this year. I'm gonna run this year LWC cohort though. But yeah, not gonna run this cohort for sure. So if you want to really get good at integrations, this is the best chance and the last. Okay, any other questions, guys? Can we using auth 2? Yeah, you can. It just depends on the. You can use anything with this, right? So, I don't wanna go now in the named credentials because I think I see that we are already streaming for uh way more than 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and it's getting late. So I think I'm pretty sure, like, is there still anyone from Europe? Guys, is there still anyone from Europe here? I'm pretty sure you'll already all fall asleep and are like, or you have it in the background. I know, maybe you're like cleaning or cooking some pasta, and then you're having this live stream in the background. This is also possible. This is also possible. You're okay, okay. You're still from there. Yeah. This is crazy time. I'm happy that that you guys joining at this point, because I think it shows motivation. Like, if you're really joining at this point Friday night, live stream about coding, freaking hell, you're gonna go very far. You're gonna really go very far. Because that's the real motivation. That's the real motivation. Okay, do we still have people from US? Do we still have okay, so we had India. Do we have India? Do we have UK? Do we have Turkey? Okay. Erdim, you're still here. Good. Who else? Right where you still, like, right where you from, so I can see who actually left until the end of the stream. So I can see who is the most motivated people. Okay. From Georgia but based in US. This is nice. UK. India, Friday night. Yes. So again, if you enjoyed it, I think you guys gonna just fly with the integration cohort because you stayed for so long with this live stream. You're awesome. Egypt here 8:30. Yeah, it's 7:30 for me. So thank you so much, everyone. Join the integration cohort if you wanna just skyrocket your career. If you ever wanted to become a senior developer or architect, you have to learn integrations. You cannot go without learning integrations. You just have to do it, okay? And you can do it in 8 weeks. 8 weeks, you know everything about integrations. Okay, Ukraine, Ukraine, nice. Hey, Ukraine, very good. Slovakia, Tunisia. Oh wow, Tunisia, from Tunis. Nice. Tunisia. I really wanna go to Tunisia. Okay, so thank you everyone. Join the cohort, and you will be able to see me every single week streaming like this to the cohort. I'm gonna be teaching every single week. So yeah, if you wanted to learn integration, that's the best way. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Have a nice evening. Enjoy your pasta cooking, and nice evening. And everyone enjoy the weekend. Bye bye everyone.